Good evening. Welcome to LMC-TV and to Another Path. My name is Caroline Freeburn, and I have here a very special friend and guest, Sundar, who is a massage therapist and Reiki healer, and I'm here to speak to him about his work.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm glad to be here. Glad to be your guest on your show. I've been doing massage therapy for, actually I started massage therapy when I was 4 years old. I actually helped my father, who was, he did a pushcart service. He sold hot dogs in the Bronx, New York. And, he'd come home from, a hard day's work, and he asked me to help him with his back for pushing the cart up. There was no motorized carts back then, so he had to push the cart up the block. He had to dish out food all day, and he came home and his hands and his back would hurt. So he would tell me, this is where it hurts, this is what you do. And I didn't realize at the time it was actually an ancient art. It was like Ayurvedic therapy from India. It has a long history, and I was just, I was a young kid, I didn't know. 4 years old, he said, you do this, you do that, you do this. So I went on after all that. I used to help, family members out and other members, and then I went to school to become a lab tech. So I did that for 20 years. I did lab techs for 20 years. I worked in Westchester Medical Center and the microbiology department, and then I got laid off, of all things. But these things that happen to you, you realize that they're transitions. You say, oh, this is my path. I chose this path. I went to school. I got my education, and I worked as a microbiologist for 20 years. And then you realize that your path has changed, and you have to choose something. And I was introduced to massage therapy. I thought to myself, I'll do massage therapy when I go back to school to get my molecular license to work for DNA testing. That was really my goal. But then I went to school for, it was a year, 500-hour course, and then I just fell in love with it. It's just really, it's like a path. The path opens up for you. You resist it, but then the path opens up, and you realize that this is your true path. Accept it. That's really what it's about. So I'm just glad to be here and glad to talk to you about the path to healing. That's really what I'm here to talk to you about.
I'm curious to know what it was like when you were working with your father and having to help him with his pain. What was that like for you?
It was, it was more like technical. I'm one of 10, so I have 10 people in my family. So you kind of interview.
Wow.
He had a lot of kids to choose from, but he says you have the hands or whatever. There's a little bit of difference. He says, oh, this is what hurts. So I went through that particular training. I didn't realize what it was, but for his pain was mostly his hands, working all day, pushing a cart, doing all this stuff, providing for 10 kids, stress level very high, and then you have to be, have to channel like calmness. You really do. You really have to say, it taught me to be present in the moment. And that's really what he taught me, to be present in this moment. Everything,
Absolutely.
You can plan for the future, and you have plans, and you have goals, but you have to really be in that particular moment at all times. Otherwise, if you lose focus, then you lose a lot of things. And it was really profound. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a profound, him selling hot dogs, coming from India to sell hot dogs, and made a good living. He provided for his kids, but in the same aspect to have common knowledge, have
And share that with him, creating
Right.
these memories, yeah.
Right, create those memories, have a baseline, just like to be understanding of yourself, to know that yourself. That's really what it's about. Like a path is to recognize what is within you. To recognize
The goodness.
the light, right, and then to channel it and to be aware of it, and not be beyond yourself, not be outside of yourself. It's good to plan, but it's also good to be centered, and that's really what it is. That's like a balance between the two.
One of the reasons that I was so grateful that you agreed to do this interview is because I I'm very impacted by the opiate epidemic. And it's affecting a diversity of people, people who are prescribed them for medical reasons, and then of course recreational things that happen in the street, illegal heroin and all of that. And I wanted to know, within your work and what you do with massage therapy and Reiki and the chakras of the body, what can you offer people that really do have the desire to want to help themselves with this type of work that you do?
Well, the opiate epidemic is, opiates are, usually people are introduced to opiates because they have some type of pain in their body. They have, like, they broke their leg, or they had surgery, or they, have back pain or other things like that. So they get introduced to that, and that actually, dulls the pain or helps them cope with the pain, at the time, which is very necessary. For surgeries, for major surgeries, you need it. But then what happens? It becomes like a crutch. It becomes like, it's not just for pain anymore. It's more for, once the pain is gone, or the healing has been done, and you have to go back. You say, it's an addiction, and it's basically, it gets wired into your very psyche. It's like, oh well, I can do this and I can be without pain, and it is like it's an addiction. It's basically what it is. An addiction,
well aware
right?
of that.
And people,
My
people,
question to you though is in your work,
right?
what kind of people do you think you can touch?
People
who are trying to not have to take medicine unnecessarily.
Right. It's a choice to find alternative, and that's really what it is. Like they say, alternative medicine. The alternative is that you have hands-on therapy to try to get to the source of the problem. So opiates just mask the issue. They just mask the issue.
So I want to hear, like, what is your work that you do? Explain it to me. I have an understanding of it.
Well, massage therapy, traditional massage therapy is, hands-on healing. It's basically, manipulating the muscle, figured out kinesiology, which is the movement of muscles. It's not actually the muscle itself, but it's the way the muscle moves.
The flow of movement.
You're right. So the fibers contract and they move your arm, or your biceps contracts and it moves it's just the motion of it. And then what muscles are involved in that? And if you have pain moving your arm or something like that, it's what is the root of the source of the pain. Like you say, my tendon is too short, or it has an injury, and that's the reason why it activates the nerve. So what opiates do is stop that signal. They actually block the signal of the pain, so you don't feel it. You might have limited range of motion, but you don't feel the pain, and that's really what it's about. So what I try to do is try to get to the source of the pain and try to alleviate that particular trigger for the pain, and then people can progress forward. That's really that's my goal, and hopefully that's what it gets accomplished, when they have a session.
And how is relaxation a part of it? How do you get a person to really relax? Or what are the ways that you try to help them to become aware of how to really let go of a lot of these things in life, stress, emotional, challenges, to really let go of those things that you're trying to help them through?
Right. Well,
relaxation.
my experience is when I, like the hands-on healing, it's usually breath control, like breathing. That's what I ask, all my clients, just take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. And usually like ocean breathing, like, you hear the ocean in your mind. And it's not, when I say to a person, ocean breathing is not a rhythmic breathing. It's actually, tied in and tied out, but it's deep and relaxed. And you can hear it, once you get into that mode, it helps your mind to relax. And it's like yoga breathing, and similar to that. It's Ayurvedic breathing. It's just, taking in enough oxygen where your body can utilize and activate like your healing systems. That's what you can't do, much healing if your body's has enough oxygen. If you're short breathing and stuff like that, your body has to, work even harder.
Harder, right.
Yeah, even harder. So it's really a relaxation type thing, and it's a mindset, rhythm, and it's also imagery, and it's also intention on my part. You have to have an intent of, you have to have an intent of, doing the best you can with the information provided to you at that particular time, and that's it. And you're in the moment, and you're doing the massage, and people are reacting to it. And you don't have any expectation for when you're doing the massage. You don't have a expectation that, oh, I'm gonna, heal this person, or this person is gonna get up from the table and they're gonna feel great. If you take that out of your mind, you say, listen, this is all my training, this is my knowledge at this particular time, and this is what I know. This is from prior experiences. This is what I know could possibly help the person. So you just do that, and you say, and you always have to check in. That's the other thing. You're always checking in, and you're always asking them if this feels good. Is this pain? Is this sharp pain? What type of pain is this? How does it feel?
Right.
And you usually say good. They usually say, whatever, and you have to follow that flow too. You can't be expected, say, oh, I'm going to do this routine or this routine. You have the routine of, asking the person, and you have it customized to what they do, what they're feeling.
What do you think about the importance of the actual client or the patient having trust in you and believing in the healing itself, that they can get well and they can improve the quality of their life? How important do you think that is?
Well, the belief, again, goes back to intention. If the person has an intent of themselves, then they called me and say, oh, I have an intent
Yes.
to get better. That's their intent. Just, oh man, this pain in my back is crazy. So I've tried other things, or I haven't tried other things, and somebody told me about massage therapy. So that's their intentions. Like, I would like to have relief, or I would like to be calm, or I'd like to be relaxed.
Is it hard for you to get people to trust you?
Trust
when
is
you're first
really
meeting
not
them?
Yeah.
Well,
right.
choosing to trust you.
Right. But that's their preconception is not my preconception. My conception is I come in, they called me, that's the initial thing. And then I say, to put them at ease, I say, listen, I've been doing this for X many years. And, I learned it. This is what I learned. This is what I do. And I usually give them like a free sample, like it's stand up, their clothes on. I usually do a little hands-on therapy. I like place my hands on them, and they feel heat, or they feel, so what do you feel? What's your sensation? And that's usually, usually that's it. And that's all I don't really, I have no expectations. That's really what it is. I'm not committed to any outcome that would happen in a session. I just do the best I can with the information provided. And a lot of times I had success with that particular thing, with, like you say, stress levels, trust, and you have to trust any person. You have to exude, if you're humble and you're
Yes.
knowledgeable and you're compassionate, it really,
Yes.
truly like compassionate, it really
Yes.
just, it takes care of itself.
I totally am on the same page about that. And, one time when I had called you for a massage, it ended up, I think that, this is going back, I think, about a year ago or more. And we decided to take a walk, and we went to the John Jay Nature Conservatory. And I'm just, you have some things that you brought, and I know that you're very connected to nature and to animals and things like this. And I'm wondering what role that plays in your work too.
Yeah, nature is like a symphony of life. That's nature. That's life. That's symphony of life. So in life, there's like it could go mathematically in nature. Like you see a rose, and you see the way the petals, come up from the bud, and they're a certain pattern, and that pattern is the same thorn pattern. Like the rose petals will go in this circular pattern, but the thorn patterns will go in the opposite pattern. But that
Perfection.
Formula, right?
It's
That's
beautiful.
perfection. But it's a like a ratio. They call it like a sacred geometry. So, like 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 1 is 3, 3 + 2 is 5, 5 + 3 is 8, 8 + 5 is 13. So if you plot those marks out, they do a spiral. They come into a spiral, and that particular formula is throughout nature, throughout living things, throughout the flowers here. You'll see in the the pistil and of these flowers or any other flowers, they have that particular circular pattern that goes throughout life. DNA is like that. The way it folds together. I mean, when you stretch it out, it's one stretch, but when it folds back together, it kind of like a slinky. It kind of goes back into that pattern. That pattern goes all the way up into the galaxy. Like the galaxies are, if you look at the Milky Way or anything like that, if you look at it from in the middle is the black hole, but then outside is that spiral pattern. So when they say the Big Bang or when it exploded, it should just go straight out, but it doesn't. It follows a circular pattern because it's
No beginning,
it's interaction,
no end.
right? It's an interaction
Circle.
between, like, I don't want to get like too into physics or like
No.
stuff like that, but it's really a pattern that is acted upon by, they say, dark matter, by an unseen force. And that's the reason why it makes that spiral pattern. Now, that spiral pattern is the same way they believe, because they don't really know, but they believe the way a black hole collapses. So it sucks in all light. It has so much gravity, it sucks in all light, but it sucks in the light and it crushes it down to nothing. That's really, that particular pattern, that Fibonacci, it's called the Fibonacci pattern, is throughout nature, throughout everything. And then if you are aware of it, and you recognize it, it's a sacred type understanding, and to understand that everything's connected. And when you understand that everything's connected, it really makes everything kind of, you put yourself into other things. You envision yourself as other people. You look into other person's eyes and you say to yourself, you know, that could be me. On their circumstances, when they grew up, they experienced these certain things that made them act this certain way. I have a identity. I have, you know, like when you're a child, you don't know, but then you slowly build an identity. You look around you look in the mirror, you found these things, you build an identity on yourself, and you use that to look out to the world. But if you envision yourself as other people, then it makes it really simple to be kind, because you say you don't want to treat anybody any different than you want to be treated. You know what I mean? If you put yourself in their place and you understand you can't judge them for their particular way of thinking, because this is what they experienced through their life, and this is what they came to this point. This is what they believe,
But
and
we come
their
from
identity,
such
right?
diverse
Reflects
backgrounds and
reflects in their
experiences that
identity.
we have to really respect that. So tell me about some of these things that you brought with you, which you've brought before. And
Yeah, this is just an abalone shell. It's basically, I don't know, can you see it? Can you hold it up? Or it's abalone shell. It's basically
yes,
just
beautiful. I love that.
yeah,
stone.
it's actually layers of calcium. That's the way they create that pearl-like.
Calcium, really?
Yeah, like you know, bone, but it's basically
Right.
in thin layers. So what it is translucent. So what it looks like oil on water.
And
That's
the
what
colors,
makes that.
like the purple, the
yeah, that's
iridescent
what makes
colors.
that. The iridescence makes it's like it's oil on water. When you put oil, you see oil on water, it makes that iridescent sound. There's the same thing with the calcium. It's like translucent. It's had multi-layers.
So tell me what you do with that. That's
well,
insane.
inside I put white sage. This is white sage, and usually just burn it. And white sage is like it clears. It's for clearing spirits. You know what I mean, or like energies. That's all it is. Energies never.
Yeah.
People say spirits, but then they get the wrong idea. They think spirit are either bad or good.
A ghost
It's neither
or something,
or.
right.
Yeah, it's none. It's
Halloween.
none of those things. It's just raw energy, raw and simple. And it's raw energy, and it's your intent that you put on it. If you have fear, or you have anxiety, whatever, if you put that in when you do stuff, or you have bad intentions when you do something, that flips the energy to what, you know, brings it into this realm and what you want it to be. If you have no intentions at all, I say, listen, I just raw energy and positive and beautiful and light, and then you do that and you clear the system. It clears out like energies. It brings it to a base level. It's like putting your computer in, you know, like pushing like clean. You know, you clean the disk, clean disk, whatever.
Clean disk,
yeah,
right.
it's like it's raw energy. And then after that, after you burn the sage, you should invite in the beautiful spirits, and that's really what it is. And then you set the intention. You burn the
beautiful
sage,
energy.
right?
Right.
You burn the sage, and then you set the intention. And that's really, people forget about the last part, setting the intention. They burn the sage, and then
but
they walk away. They don't think about, you know, what they imagine. You know what I mean? And that's really, that's what makes it beautiful, is the intention. And that's with everything. Your intention. What's your intention? What's your motivation? People ask that all the time. What's your motivation? Well, my motivation is,
What do you want out of what you do? What is
I don't want for anything. That's the beauty of it. I don't really want.
Interesting.
No, but I gotta take that back. I really want people to be happy without
I guess
pain.
my question is, what is ultimately your purpose in the things that you do to help people?
My purpose is, what I intended when I first started. I said, I want people to be, content. And that's really
That's
it.
an important
And
word.
pain is a rebirth because when
Yes,
I
you
was
didn't
young,
talk
right?
about-
I had
right.
pain. I was worked in a moving company, and we were taking a piano up like a flight of steps in a railroad apartment. Like this guy, I was like, brought a piano from Oklahoma. I was like, it's my grandma's piano. I was like, do you play the piano? He's like, no, it's my grandma gave it to me. I was like, dude, you live in a little tiny apartment in the city. Just get rid of it, sell it, But he didn't. He wanted it in his apartment. He had sentiment. So I said, oh, we're doing it. So we're lifting this thing up, and the guy ahead of me slipped, and the piano came down and hit me in my chest, and it was like I was finished. I couldn't walk. I was like, it was not. At that time, I finished the whole job, but the day after, the next day, I was like stuck in bed. I couldn't walk. I had to go to the hospital, and that's when I really started to understand, like. All my life before that, I was
were
like,
helping your
I
father,
was strong. I
yeah.
could do stuff, and I was a total invalid. I was like, this is crazy. So that pain that I was in, I went back to school. I said, well, I need to sit down, at a job, so I can do microbiology. I can do that. Then the pain became like, it was like this, like what, it's too unbearable. So, but the fact of the matter is that pain led me to massage therapy. That pain led me to acupuncture. That pain led me to having, taking care of my body, eating right and everything like this. Sometimes the pain leads you, other people, to different parts. They lead to eating too much, or lead to comfort foods, or they lead to, like I said, opiates or something like that. That pain leads them to that. And then they never have a chance to, if they get stuck in that mode.
But is it a choice, or are they
It's
just
not a
being
choice.
led?
It really, sometimes you get, it's building it. It's like layers. It's like the abalone shell. It's like layers upon layers upon layers of little behaviors that become great behaviors. Little behaviors that, I need to pop a pill so I can do this. I need to do that. And it becomes a habit. And the other side, I couldn't, thank God, I couldn't take any, opiates or anything. I couldn't do it because it would set my body, my
Yes.
my temperature and everything would go too low. My heart rate would go too low. I couldn't do it. Thank God. But I would have if I would tried it, but I couldn't, if my body couldn't tolerate it. Thank God. So I had to lead to other alternative ways. The other alternative ways are not an instant fix. They're not. They're not. They're a regiment of step by step.
They're practices.
Practices. They're
Right.
practices. They're not a one size fits all. That's the problem with I think Western medicine or whatever.
Everybody wants a quick fix.
It's an instant fix. And an instant fix is not the best, and they realize that, So hopefully people realize, and then they get an inkling to say, listen, this particular opiates didn't work for me, so I want to try alternative, and an alternative medicine, an alternative way to look at my pain. And it's their pain, they have to realize that their pain is a motivation.
And it's a voice.
Right.
It's a
It's a
voice,
voice, right.
giving us a warning. It's a voice inside of us that we listen to. And I think that mindfulness, the power of our own mind, is one of the most powerful things that we can do to overcome habits that are negative and replace them with positive habits. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, like you have to, like your internal dialogue. That's
What you
I don't
tell
know,
yourself.
What your mantra. They say mantra. Yeah, I'm gonna get religious, but like Hindus say mantra. Or what you tell yourself. Your internal
That's
voice. That's really all it
self-dialogue,
is.
yeah.
Your self-dialogue. You don't, people, I see like yoga instructors, whatever. I know a lot of yoga instructors, and they're saying their mantras in Hindi. I was like, you don't speak Hindi. Why? You should, it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful language, and I accept it. But the fact of the matter is, it should be in English. It should be your personal narrative. What you say to yourself every morning when you get up, say, oh my goodness, it's going to be a horrible day. People say that. And then they have a horrible day. It's like, oh, I knew it. Because you set that intention when you first got up. You set
Right.
that
The
intention,
power
say,
of
I'm going to have a
one
horrible
thought,
day.
where
I
one
feel
thought can
horrible,
take you.
whatever. I don't mean like, fool yourself, but definitely say, oh, it's a little better than yesterday. Or, I got up and I didn't hurt myself today. You know what I mean? Or I went, whatever it is. I had a great bowel movement. Whatever it is that you can look forward to, that you can put your finger on and say, that is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to set the intention. That's really, and your internal dialogue, what you say to yourself, is really, really, really important.
Is there anything else you want to add to that you
No,
want to
I
talk
just wanted
about?
to say thank you for, like, you know, thinking of me and saying,
Of course.
come talk to me.
You know,
and
because,
let me say my
and I'm
spiel.
also wanting to tell you how grateful I am to you that you've
Oh,
been very
thank you.
instrumental in helping me,
you.
you know, after my surgery to find these alternative paths.
right.
And, you know, there were times I didn't, you know, I doubted, and I could, you know, like you say, it's a daily practice of believing that you can do things differently, think differently, and connecting with people in meaningful, compassionate ways have an impact.
It's true. It's true. Like Dalai Lama is like, his favorite line is like, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. It's real simple. And the key word, I think, is like, have passion. That's what it is. Have passion for your practice. Have passion for life. Have passion for the other people. Understand, you know, try to understand, try to walk in their shoes, try to have a little bit of, you know, compassion and humility, and, you know, and just give thanks, give gratitude. That's really what it is. I give gratitude every day.
I think that word and the meaning of it and living it is a very sacred thing.
Yes, yes.
Meaning it's a human thing, but it's to me it's one of the most important things to practice, gratitude.
Be thankful for, you know, the little things.
Yeah,
Every
of
little
course.
miracle. Don't
Every
look
little
beyond.
miracle.
Yeah.
Sundar, I really thank you so much for coming tonight and doing this interview. And I just wanted to ask you, and our audience would be curious to know how they can reach you if they want to get some massage therapy through you.
The best way to contact me is through my email. And my email is sungod, SUNGOD, 699 at AOL.com. Or they can text me or something like that, because I'm usually in session. That's what it is. I usually don't have time to answer the phone. But my number is 914-804-9949 is the best way to get to. And again, text or email. Email's better, but text is good too. You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
So yeah, because I'm usually in session. That's the reason why. So.
I'm so grateful that you came. I really am so grateful.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And I thank you for being a part of this journey with Sundar. I hope you join us next time on Another Path.